Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Scottish on the home side, half Hong Konger on the away side. Not often you can say that, of course, but both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel a good few times before. Now, when it comes to the Scottish brewery, they are most definitely best known for their different kinds of sour beer, wild ale, whatever you want to call them, quite modern takes on more old school beer styles quite often, I would say. But the Hong Kong brewery are a little bit more kind of well-rounded, if you like. They try lots of different styles and they tend to do them pretty well. They've been doing some really interesting beers recently, so quite cool to see these breweries do a collaboration together. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I've had from both breweries before. It's one that I know both breweries can do pretty well, and this one has a few interesting adjuncts in it that I think will make it a very interesting beer. So needless to say, I'm really curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, for the home side of things, we are going to head back to my motherland of Scotland. We're going to go to the city of Dundee on the River Tay, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Holy Goat Brewing. So this particular beer is called Black Kite. It comes in at 6% ABV. They're calling it a tropical sour with lychee and jasmine in it, and this one has been brewed in collaboration with Black Kite Brewery, who are from Wong Chuk over on the south side of Hong Kong Island here in the Hong Kong SAR. So as I said earlier, very cool to see these guys do a collaboration together, and if I'm not mistaken, I actually tried this beer on its launch night at where was it, at the Globe in Central in Hong Kong, and it's quite an interesting one, this, but on tap it was really quite powerful, so I'm curious to see how the bottled version turns out actually. But yeah, a tropical sour, this one, with lychee and jasmine added into it. I've not had either adjunct from either brewery before actually, so that makes this one particularly quirky in my mind. But yeah, two breweries who are very capable when it comes to the sour beer category. I've had more from Holy Goat in that category as well than Black Kite. So we'll just need to see what this one is going to have in store for us. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Holy Goat Brewing and from Black Kite. If you want to see more reviews though, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You can find this one in both the Scottish playlist and the Hong Kong playlist, since it is kind of dual nationality, but do check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Holy Goat Brewing first, since they are the home brewery in this case. So, like I mentioned to you already, Holy Goat Brewing are based in the city of Dundee, and the company was founded back in 2021 by Johnny Horn, who had previously been one of the co-founders of Vault City Brewing. So Johnny is originally from Wales, and he started experimenting with fermentation when he was about 15. But later on he moved to Edinburgh to study a PhD in archaeology, but he said he ended up reading more brewing textbooks than archaeology papers and things like this. He also ran the University Brewing Society, and he worked at Brew Store before he got a job brewing part-time at the Hanging Bat in Edinburgh, and it was there that he began to experiment with different sour beers in about 2012 or so. But during his time at Hanging Bat, he met Stephen Smith Hay, who was quite a regular customer, and he was also interested in setting up his own brewery. And so they got together, they started brainstorming ideas, and in the very early stages, they were joined by Stephen's partner Adele Wilkie, and then the three of them together established Vault City Brewing. But initially they didn't think much about making money, and they set up what they called a glorified home brewing kit as their main brewery in Stephen and Adele's kitchen, and they began brewing weekly back in July of 2018. But over the following year, they began to visit a few different beer festivals across Europe and spread the word about the Vault City name. And then they started brewing their beers commercially at 71 Brewing in Dundee, and in total Vault City spent around 16 months there. So during this time, Vault City were in the process of setting up their own brewery facility in Portobello, which is just a little bit to the east of Edinburgh. But things kind of just diverged in directions here. So Johnny enjoyed the time in Dundee, and it was during this time that he decided he wanted to do his own thing, and so he kind of broke away and formed Holy Goat in 2021. From what I understand, the kind of creative difference was that Stephen and Adele with Vault City wanted to focus on having a base beer and playing around with that base beer, which they've done quite successfully over the years as well, whereas Johnny wanted to do more kind of different beers, if you like, an experiment with actually brewing lots of different styles. So there was just a kind of creative difference. But Johnny says that the new business model allows him to go back to being very experimental, but also to maintain profitability, and he has been quite successful over the last couple of years. So as of November 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, Holy Goat Brewing have produced around 95 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. The vast majority of them are kind of sour beers and wild ales, but you will find the odd imperial stout and other styles in there as well, actually. So he brews different things every so often, and those always tend to be pretty damn interesting as well. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Holy Goat Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then to the Hong Kong side of things and talk about Black Kite Brewery. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Black Kite Brewery are based in Wong, Chuk on the southern part of Hong Kong Island here in the Hong Kong SAR, and the brewery was founded back in 2014 by the brothers David and Daniel Galley, who were both born in Hong Kong, but their family originally hails from England. So Dan originally studied mechanical engineering at the University of Pennsylvania over in the US, and he went on to work as a software engineer, while David studied economics at Boston University and then worked in compliance in the finance industry. So the two were big beer enthusiasts, of course, and started brewing a little bit for themselves. And then Daniel left the company in 2019, but David continued to brew, and he also teamed up with Tom Turner of Neon Cider, who's originally from Dorset in England. And Neon Cider is, of course, the first cidery in Hong Kong, which is pretty cool. Their stuff is pretty interesting, I have to say, so give it a go. But he also used to brew for Young Master Brewery, also in Wong Chuk Hang, and he's now the head brewer for Black Kite Brewery. But they rebranded in 2020 to change the logo to a more kind of simplified design, but they still show a lot of the elements of Hong Kong, of course, and a lot of their beers are named after Hong Kong phenomena, if we can call it that, like the Colour Taxi series, if you like. But over the years, they've continued to build up the brewery infrastructure and also increase their sales. But Black Kite are still a pretty damn small operation, actually. And the name of the brewery is taken from the black kite bird, which can be seen very commonly in Hong Kong. But in the last year or so, they've been putting out quite a few different beers, at least once a month usually. Sometimes 2 or 3 a month, actually, it just kind of depends. But as of November 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 65 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Black Kite Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, again, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, that's everything about the brewery history. We can actually go on and have a little look at the beer itself now. So before we open this one up, I'll let you have a wee look at the artwork there. So yeah, you can see here on the label of this one, you've got a black kite there in the Holy Goat style, and he's obviously got some jasmine that he's flying about with there too, so that's pretty cool. Plain black bottle cap on this one. I can't remember, but this is one of the few green bottle beers, I believe, that I've had from Holy Goat Brewing. Usually these beers are in brown bottles, so I'm not sure what the motivation behind giving this one a green bottle was, in all honesty. But you can see there is one of the Holy Goat Brewing symbols on the back there of this one, and then obviously up here on this part of the label you can see both Holy Goat and Black Kite, and it tells you a wee bit about the beer here as well. So it says here, primary fermented with our most tropical blend of Brettanomyces strains. We re-fermented this beer with roughly 100 grams per litre of lychee in addition to whole jasmine blossoms added directly on into the fermenter, along with a hot jasmine blossom tea blended into the beer after re-fermentation. A collaboration with our friends at Black Kite Brewery in Hong Kong, we decided on a blend of ingredients native to their area. The subtle tropical melon pear characteristics of the lychee meld with our tropical yeast character, whilst the jasmine adds a delicate floral flavour, which is both sweet and refreshing. Drink young or age, this beer will get weirder. Hail the goat. So pretty nice, this one. Don't know if there's anything else we really need to say about this beer. Like I said, I believe I tried this one at the Globe with the legendary Luigi Corraduzza of Luigi Drinks when he was over for a wee visit, and I remember this one being pretty powerful actually, so I'm curious to see if it's mellowed out a little bit in the bottle version, because this beer will be about maybe 6 months old now or something like that. But let's get it out into the glass then and see how we go. The Black Kite 6% lychee and jasmine sour beer from, oh, that's got quite a bit of smoke from it, from Holy Goat Brewery in Dundee in the motherland of Scotland, in collaboration of course with Black Kite Brewery from Wong, Chuk here in Hong Kong. So let's do it. Just pour this one a little bit carefully so it doesn't get too excited, but there you go. It's very nice, and only a little bit of sediment left at the bottom of the bottle there. So yeah, this beer, I have to say, looks pretty damn nice. You can see that it's poured with maybe about a 3/4 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head actually. You can see some slightly medium-sized bubbles on the very surface of the liquid there, but you can see the head gets very, very foamy the further up that you go. Colour-wise, this one looks very nice too. You can see little bits of sediment particle kind of floating around in this one, and it has a wee bit of natural haze. But the colour of this beer is a really lovely kind of bright golden yellow. You can see if I put my hands behind that there, it's got this lovely kind of bright golden yellow colour to it. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And when it comes to kind of modern sour beers like this, that is of course going to play quite a big role. So yeah, with this one, I think the jasmine and the lychee aren't going to affect the colour too much. So the golden colour you get out of this one will mainly be due to the malts. It's mainly when we add, you know, cherries and black currants and stuff like that into the beer that you'll start to see that effect. But yeah, all in all, the way this one goes together is pretty damn nice. So yeah, I don't think we need to say anything more about the appearance of this one. You can see the head has just faded away to be a thinner foamy layer, and you've got that nice ring around the edge of the glass there too. But all in all, it looks very, very nice. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the aroma of this one then, because I think this, I got a few whiffs of it as I brought it out, but I think this one should be really, really interesting. So yeah. Yeah, it smells pretty powerful. I've had a couple of beers with lychee in them. I remember one in Singapore, which was a lychee lager, and that was really interesting. And lychee can be very, very powerful in terms of what it can do in an aroma, and you can smell that straight away with this one. Lychee it almost has this little bit of spice like in the top of the nose, which is interesting. So that jumps out at you right away. And of course the jasmine is kind of, the sort of floral characters of the jasmine are really just amplifying that. So the lychee and the jasmine are very much in the top of the nose of this one, and they give the beer like this real kind of like spicy aromaticity. So that's the first thing that's going to jump out of this one at you, is that big sort of spicy floral aromaticity that the beer has. But of course, underneath that, there's a few other things going on. But I think this is one of these beers where we're going to get more complexity out of the actual flavour than the aroma, in honesty. But of course, underneath that, like I say, you get a few more things. So I'm getting little bits of like a kind of fresh white bready bread crust in this one. There's a little touch of wood, there's a little bit of cracker, maybe a wee bit of like there's maybe a little touch of wholemeal brown bread in there, but there's also quite a little bit of white bready character too, I would say. So yeah, the way that that goes together in this beer, I think is it's really quite nice. So yeah, the white bready side of things, it's almost got a little bit of sweetness to it, but as I say, the kind of floral and spicy character that this beer has is really quite prominent, actually. It's kind of interesting. I've not come across a beer like this for quite some time, actually. But yeah, all in all, the malty side of the things in this one is quite interesting. I think on top of the white bready side of things, there's a little touch of like McVitie's digestive biscuit in there. There's a little bit of kind of Werther's original butter candy butterscotch maybe. But yeah, I don't know if there's too much else to say about that malty backbone that the beer has. At the back of the nose, you're starting to get some of the yeasty characteristics out of this one as well. For me, the yeasty side of this beer, yeah, it's mainly white bready actually. It's got a little bit of that kind of grainy, white bready sort of character to it. So I really like how that pieces together. So yeah, quite a bit of grainy, white bready note in there with this one. Don't know if there's much else to say about it than that, to be honest. Like I say, the floral, spicy character this beer has, it really kind of overpowers a lot of the other stuff that's going on. I do wonder if there's a bit of wheat in this one. I have to say that. Does it say? Yeah, it does have wheat, and it's got oats in it as well, so that's kind of interesting. I wouldn't have really picked up on the oats, but the sort of smoothness of some of the white bready characters in there, that did give away the wheat, I would say. Yeah, so on the hoppy side of things, when it comes to these modern sour beers, it's always interesting to think about the brewer's hopping mentality, if we can call it that. So when it comes to the old school sour beer styles like the Lambics and the Flanders Reds, what they used to do was add slightly older hops to the beer that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, and so the hoppy character, the bitterness of the hops, wouldn't detract from the sour side of the beer. Modern breweries, of course, some of them don't add hops into their beers for things like smoothie sours, because they say the fruit will suppress the green component anyway, but some of them do like to add the hops into the beer because they say it gives it a little bit more flavour complexity. Holy Goat do tend to add hops into their beer, and this one, interestingly, it doesn't actually say that they've added hops into it, so I'm not quite sure, but still, you do get a little bit of green component out of this one, so there's a wee slight touch of earthiness to it, there's a little bit of a kind of herbally note, and then yeah, you've got a lot of floral aromaticity out of this one, but that's probably from the jasmine, of course. Like we said, with the fruity side of this one, you are of course getting the lychee, and lychee has this very kind of pungent, slightly spicy note to it, of course. But then yeah, you have of course like a sharper melon in there. Definitely agree with melon. But there's a more kind of juicy, like pineapple-y note to this one, an oily pear definitely. I think they said pear, they thought pear on the label here. But yeah, I would agree with the melon and pear that they are saying, of course. And maybe like a little bit of dried apricot or something like that too. But yeah, all in all, the aroma of this one is quite interesting and quite unique in comparison to a lot of the stuff I've had from Holy Goat before. I think I have had a lychee sour from Black Kite. Well, maybe I don't know about lychee, but I've had something similar. I forget what fruit it was, but I've had something that's had a kind of similar vibe to this one from Black Kite before. But it didn't have jasmine in it, nor did it have lychee. So yeah. Aroma wise, this is a very, very interesting one, and like I say, quite quirky compared to the beers I've had from Holy Goat before. But yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, but I think it is about time to taste this one now and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Black Kite, a 6% lychee and jasmine sour beer brewed by Holy Goat Brewing in Dundee, Tayside, Scotland, in collaboration with Black Kite Brewery from Wong, Chuk, Hong Kong Island, here in the Hong Kong SAR. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Oh yeah, I will say that one has a hell of an impact on it. You're going to find that when you take this in, it is like a punch in the mouth, punch in the face. Yeah, and I remember on tap it being like that. I think instead of having a half, I remember with this one, instead of having a half, I ordered a full pint. And I mean, the beer was enjoyable, but that was just a little bit much of this one. This for me, it's a nice beer, but yeah, it's more of a kind of taste. For me, this is more of a kind of tasting beer rather than having that kind of drinkability. But in honesty, when it comes to sour beers, for me, you're not going to sit down and you know, have a session of these. You're right. If you're going to have a few of them, you're going to share them with somebody and you know, have little tastes of a few of them. But yeah, for me, a sour beer, I would treat a sour beer like I would an imperial stout or a barley wine or something. It's a tasting beer, a sipping beer, like an enjoyment beer. And this beer is definitely one like that. Even though they say it's, you know, it's quite refreshing and things like that, I would say for me, this is definitely one of those kind of one-off taster beers that you try for sure. But it's enjoyable, this one. It is quite a nice beer, and it is quite interesting. And you want things like this after 4,200 odd beer reviews. I think that's where we are now, 4,200. Crazy. But yeah, this beer will give you a bit of a punch on that first take. Let's just break this one down though and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. Yeah, I actually find this one more sour than anything I've had from Holy Goat, and that's quite a statement to make. This one really does have a little bit more, yeah, it really just has a little bit more attack to it than what we've had from Holy Goat before. So yeah, just be aware of that. We've had Creeks and Flanders Reds and a whole host of things from Holy Goat, but yeah, I don't remember one that has been quite as potent as this. But yeah, as you would expect, the lychee is in there, and that's really prominent in the flavour. That kind of lingers there throughout the whole beer, and the jasmine just sort of almost puts the lychee on steroids a little bit, so it really kind of sits there. But yeah, the backbone of this beer, we'll break this beer down and describe it for you a bit more in depth. So let's start on the middle third of the palate then. You can feel in that middle third of your beer, the backbone of the beer, it's a mix of things. It feels like a nice kind of smooth oaky wood. Then as you move further forward on that middle third of the palate, you get like a little touch of vanilla there. But yeah, you're also getting a little bit of that soft, fresh, white bready bread crust coming out of this one, which I think is really, really nice. Yeah, it has got that really nice, just smooth, but slightly dry, fresh white bready bread crust in there. On top of that, there's a slight layer of like Jacob's cream cracker, something like that. But then yeah, you get a nice kind of fresh and fluffy white bready character above that. You can feel there's a more dense white bready, a more dense and smooth white bready character to this one as well, which is obviously the wheat. The wheat is going to give you that more dense white bready character. What I would say is the jasmine, it almost feels as if the kind of spice from the jasmine in this one just sits within that barley malt white bready layer, and then yeah, the more dense white bready character sits on top of that. There is maybe a little bit of a smooth oaty character, like a sort of line down the middle of your tongue. But yeah, the oats for me are not overly prominent in the flavour of this one. In the dead centre of your palate, you've got that little circle there, so it's got a wee bit of that kind of slightly creamy Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of flavour, and that is of course the alcohol coming out of the beer. But you perhaps also have a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity type quality around it. But yeah, above that you can just feel that sharp, juicy, and slightly, I always find that lychee has that little bit of spice. You just get that lychee flavour just sitting on top of everything in that middle third of the palate. So yeah, the way that that goes together is really interesting in all honesty. But yeah, I think that's everything we really need to say about the middle third of your palate in this beer. So yeah, let's go to the back third of your palate then. But remember that generally speaking, the front third of your palate gives you the front third of your palate is going to give you more kind of sweet flavours, but the further back you go, you're going to get the more dry and bitter sort of flavours out of the beer. But yeah, the back third of your palate is going to give you very similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. So yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you've got that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in this one. So you can feel a little touch of brown bread in the base, but then yeah, you've got the fluffier white bread in the middle, and then the more dense wheaty white bread on top. The base of that back third of your palate, you've got the nice kind of you've got the nice kind of bread crusty note out of this one. So yeah, white bready bread crust in there. You've got that Jacob's cream cracker kind of note sitting on top of it. A little bit of the drier woodiness underneath as well, in fairness. So yeah, you've got a layer of kind of wholemeal brown bread in there. Then you've got a sort of, yeah, then I would say you've got a fluffy, you've got the kind of fluffier barley malt white bready character sitting above that, which is a little bit lighter, taller and more airy. Then yeah, you can feel the more dense wheaty white bread on top of that again. And yeah, above everything else on that back third of the palate, you've got the nice sort of yeasty character coming out of this one. So yeah, let's focus on that yeasty side of things. So yeah, the yeasty side of this beer then, at its core it feels like it's got a slightly sweet kind of wholemeal brown bready sort of character. So yeah, you've got that sweet wholemeal brown bready note in the middle. Then yeah, around that you start to get a more kind of white bready character, and then yeah, it's a little bit more bread crusty around the very edge. And you can feel it has a little bit of a citricy note to it. So yeah, in the back of your palate, you've definitely got that little bit of citricy character. So yeah, definitely the back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that everything kind of pieces together in the malty and yeasty side of this beer is quite nice, and it's got a little bit of a kind of, it has got a little bit more of a kind of grainy, malty sort of character into the aftertaste, but yet you can feel that sharper citricy note just sitting above that. So yeah, I think we've covered the malty and yeasty side of this beer quite nicely. So in terms of the hoppy side of things for this beer and the green component, if you like, just going from the mouthfeel of this one, I don't think this beer actually has hops in it, because the side of the palate is very, very smooth in this one. So maybe with this beer, they've substituted hops for the jasmine, which is quite interesting. And that's something I haven't seen, at least as far as I can remember, a beer from Holy Goat that doesn't have hops in it. So this is, yeah, uncharted territory. Exciting. But yeah, you still get a little bit of a hoppy placebo out of this one, I would say. So in the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness there. Then as you move further forward, it's got a wee bit of almost woodiness, I would say, and maybe slightly herbal too. And then yeah, as you push further forward toward the front corners of your palate, it's a little bit more kind of floral, if you like. And then yeah, around the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. So yeah, interesting stuff. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is it's really quite nice. It does give the beer, as they say, that kind of refreshing element to it. But yeah, this is definitely a slow sipping beer. For me, it's very potent, I have to say. But yeah, let's round off the tasting section then with a wee look at the front third of your palate. So the border region between front third and middle third of the palate for me, you get that little bit of bready build up once again, wee bit of brown bread in the base, the fluffy barley malt white bread in the middle, then the more dense wheaty white bread on top of that. The base of the front third of your palate, it has that sort of smooth oaky woody character to it, a little touch of vanilla in there once again. Then yeah, you've got the bread crust, the brown bread, the white bread, then the more dense wheaty sort of thing in there, and then you get that little oily bubble in this one, which would be from the kind of hoppy character. But yeah, it doesn't really feel as if you have so much oily fruit in this one. A lot of it feels like it comes from the adjunct, but yeah, you could say there's maybe a little bit of like sultana type flavour in there, where that oily bubble would be. There's a little bit of like sultana in there at the back of that front third of your palate. So dry white green grapes. As you move further forward, it's got a little bit of oily pear, maybe a bit of dry apricot. And then yeah, as you reach the front of that front third of your palate, it's starting to show you that more citricy side of things. So yeah, you can feel the kind of slightly spicy character of the lychee sitting above that, and yeah, you've got some of that kind of melony note in there, but you've got this really sharp sort of almost lemony citricy quality to this beer too, and of course the sort of floral spice of the jasmine is just amplifying all of that. So yeah, it's a really interesting mix of things that's going on in this beer. So yeah, I do like how everything pieces together in this particular beer. It gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, so I think that's everything we really need to say about the flavour of this one. It really does have a, you know, slap quality to it, this one, we should say that. But yeah, let's round off with a wee look at the mouthfeel. For me, this beer, I'd say it's kind of mid-bodied. The carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle to it, this one. And overall, I'd say it's quite clean, but it's also quite oily at the same time. As we said earlier, this beer has a hell of an impact to it from the lychee and from the jasmine and from everything else. The lychee and jasmine seem to have this kind of relationship where they just, you know, amplify each other a hell of a lot. But your malty character in this beer is, yeah, the malty character in this beer, I'd say, it's a bit dry underneath, a bit smoother in the middle, and it's got a kind of smooth sweetness on top of that. Yeah, you've got that nice kind of floral note to this one. So this beer doesn't really have any bitterness to it, I think. There's not really any IBU, but yeah, the impact of your sour character in this beer will play a big role as well. And yeah, that's really interesting, this one. But yeah, nice kind of juicy, fruity characteristics in there, big, sharp sort of citricy impact, like we said. But overall, just a really, really interesting beer, this one. And this is one that will definitely test your palate a wee bit. But I would say, if you buy a bottle of this, share it with somebody, because it's, for me at least, it might be different for you. For me, this is definitely a sipper. This is one of these beers where, yeah, you kind of sip it and you enjoy it over an hour or two, something like that. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. A very interesting creation from Holy Goat and Black Kite, I have to say. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Holy Goat and from Black Kite, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until the next time, slàinte, skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out the brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very soon. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Ciao just now.